I'm Billy S, welcome back to the channel. Today we're seeking refuge from the storm and resting our weary feet by the fire, as we rank all 7 Soulsborne hubs from worst to best. And you thought bosses were a polarizing topic? Nah mate. I've seen people go to bat for every hub on this list during my old area rankings, and you know what? I love it. Every hub has been designed specifically to fit into their given game, so when I rank them, a lot of it is going to come down to personal preference, overall layout, and just the vibes I get when I relax there, because most Soulsborne hubs are known for their calm ambiance, where you can just sit down, chill to some somber yet hopeful music. And while I can't bring it up in this video due to this being a Soulsborne ranking, I want to give a shout out to the newest hub on the block, Hotel Krat from Lies of P, that does almost everything right. The layout is simple to navigate with a few nicely tucked corners. You have a training area to test out new weapons, which also refills your Fable meter. And best of all, you can play great atmospheric records while doing your business. You're not playing Lies of P if you're not listening to Feel while chatting with a Venini bestie. I just wish there was an easier way to get up to Geppetto's room for your P organ upgrades, but at least they have holes in the railing strategically placed so you can roll down quickly. This has been my Go Play Lies of P message. Go play Lies of P. So without further ado, all 7 Soulsborne hubs ranked, in my opinion. And how about we make a challenge? Rather than debating on which hub is the best in the comments below, tell me a fun fact, moment, or experience about your favorite hub. Let's go. Starting off the bottom of our list is Sekiro's Dilapidated Temple. Technically, Kuro's room also counts as a hub, but since it has moments where it becomes inaccessible in the story and is only important for progressing plot, I don't really consider it a part of this list. If I did, it would be number 8 anyway. As far as the aesthetic goes, I love the Dilapidated Temple's attention to details when it comes to its inhabitant, the sculptor. The countless Buddha carved inside his hut, while various charms and wards are pasted along the outside of the cabin. It paints a very specific tale of a paranoid man who is desperate for atonement. There's also a brief clearing where you can find Hanbei the Undying, who will allow you to practice specific skills on him like a training dummy. But beyond that, there isn't much of note. You can recruit a vendor to return here midway through the Ashina Castle level, and once you unlock the other hub, you have a shinobi door to get between them quickly if you don't feel like warping. And obviously the sculptor is vital towards you upgrading your shinobi tools. He definitely becomes one of the only friendly faces you see on your journey, which makes his ending all the more tragic. See my NPC ranking video from last week for more info on that. He's even the one that points you towards using the bells you get in-game to access the Hirata estate memories. But the hub itself, and this is just personal preference, doesn't pop for me. And I know exactly why. Sekiro just isn't the style of game where you're constantly having to return to your hub to progress or level up, so to speak. You find enough resources in the wild that the vendor doesn't become important until later in the game, and you only ever return to the sculptor once you find a new prosthetic tool. It explains why I just don't have a personal attachment to the Dilapidated Temple, because it doesn't really feel like a home. This is a rare case where I actually feel bad for ranking Sekiro in a Soulsborne list, as in this specific case, the game is at a natural disadvantage. But by no means does that make the Dilapidated Temple bad, far from it. Just listen to the ambient sounds next time you're here, and tell me it doesn't transport you to a different time and place. Sekiro is a completely different experience with the music turned off, and I think everyone should experience that. Next up on my list, we have the hub that started it all, the Nexus from Demon's Souls. Now, I know many people swear by the Nexus as their favorite hub in all of Soulsborne, and I totally get it. At least in the PS3 version, it has the best use of music out of all of the Soulsborne hubs. starting with your first visit with the Maiden in Black's theme and the beautiful strings that accompany it, but also the silence in between each note, the use of empty space, like a lullaby being played to a sleeping child. It put my mind at ease every time I came back, until I had slain my third archdemon and suddenly the calming music was replaced by a track far more sinister than before. A way to showcase your growing power as you gain more demon souls, all coming to a head after you beat False King Alant, and all that's left is the groaning noise of the old one beneath the Nexus. From what I understand, the remake of Demon Souls completely changes up the vibe of the Nexus's music. They go for a different tone for the Maiden in Black, which on its own does sound fantastic, and gives the Nexus a more holy feel, but it actively takes away from what I really enjoyed about the simplicity and silence of her theme in the original, so it's a personal preference vibe. As for the rest of the hub, it's a case for me of being too big for its own good. There's ample space to fit the NPCs, and they all coalesce on the ground floor. Meanwhile, you're running up countless stairs to try and find the monumental child who is so conveniently hidden that it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. The NPCs that remain here are, for the most part, alright. The blacksmith and Stockpile Thomas are the two who stand out the most because you talk to them the most. I simply haven't had enough time with Demon Souls over the years to grow an attachment to anybody else other than them and our level up maiden. Visually though, the Nexus is stunning, whether it's the cool blues and yellows of the original game, or the mystical jade green of the remake. It's got a colour scheme that directly appeals to me, and the architecture could make Anor Londo blush. I really respect a visually distinct design, and that's exactly what the Nexus is. It doesn't look like anything else in the series. Sadly though, I just don't have that personal attachment to this hub in the way that many others do. I'm almost jealous of that fact. But I'm glad that even if I rank the Nexus fairly low, there are so many others who will lift it up because they truly understand its strengths. If I can just take a brief moment of your time, my new channel goal is to reach 20,000 subscribers by summer of 2024. And you guys can help. Just look at how many of you aren't subscribed so far. Be sure to parry that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all my latest videos. Back to the video. For the longest time, I've wondered why Firelink Shrine from Dark Souls 3 just doesn't click with me as a hub. For all intents and purposes, I should love this place, given the amount of hours I've put into Dark Souls 3, and the fact that I know all of this area's hidden secrets, shortcuts, and tricks. I've rescued every NPC, done every questline in the past. I loved seeing Andre back, even if he's just a spirit of the shrine, and a handmaiden from Dark Souls 2 becoming our vendor was extra iconic. The Fire Maiden does her job, and she does it well, and if we're talking music, all three of the Dark Souls games have iconic hub music tracks that would easily make it into contention for music I'd listen to while vibing or scripting a video. I think the usage of the 5 thrones for the Lord of Cinder is a great visual motif that allows you to visualize your goal as you progress through the lands of Lothric and beyond. And it even has 2 alternate versions you can discover as you progress through the game that adds to the complicated lore of this place. The Untented Graves with the Dark Firelink Shrine, where you can find the eyes of a Firekeeper, and the Handmaiden with the best armor set in the game on sale, as well as the Firelink Shrine you find at the end of the world after you've placed the lords on their thrones, and now nobody is around to help you. Fighting the Swordmaster for the Uchigatana, performing Tree Skip to get access to a ring, and the crows super early. I remember this all fondly, but I just don't like the overall aesthetic. Dark Souls 3 is a very saturated game, and lacks any sense of colour that makes the visuals pop. What this does is it creates a very dreary look that follows through the entire experience, and I think Firelink Shrine suffers as a result, especially in comparison to the previous hubs in the series, which all used colour and vibrancy to make the hubs more appealing to return to. When I come back to Firelink in Dark Souls 3, it's downright depressing, not helped by many of the NPC questlines not being particularly fun to follow, and their little nooks where they set up shop just looking so samey and tired. It's a fun area to explore that first time, but for me just misses the mark when it comes to its inhabitants and its style. I often feel annoyed when I have to return here to level up or get a boss weapon or reinforce my Estus flask, because I'd much rather just be out in the world exploring the more beautiful levels. It still holds a place in my heart though for the sheer amount of time I've spent here. Sitting in the middle of our list, we have the Round Table Hold from Elden Ring, the newest hub on the block. When I sat down to make this video, I wasn't actually sure where this would end up. Would I rank it at the bottom simply for being new? Or was the sheer convenience of many of the vendors enough to rank it higher? And I'm sure many of you old viewers have been very interested in my ranking because I forgot to include the Round Table Hold in my Elden Ring area ranking videos. I'm so sorry. But upon ruminating, I find the Round Table Hold to be a great hub, and I fully expect it to continue rising in my rankings as the years go by. From the way you first arrive to a Hall of Tarnished with so many NPCs to talk to and even a good welcome from Gideon, it's nice to suddenly have a sense of camaraderie after wandering the Limgrave in silence for so long. The actual aesthetic of the Hold is gorgeous, giving a very Game of Thrones style medieval mystical vibe with the giant grace in the center, the various side rooms with different characters to talk to, and even a few stone sword doorways you can unlock with a few extra hidden goodies. I love how you're actively forbidden from attacking in this area, meaning you'll never be at risk of accidentally hitting an NPC because you pressed the attack button on accident, and how this is then juxtaposed by the Madtun Ulberic invasion, or how about later in the game when you discover the corpse of Dee as Fia was able to skirt around the no-killing rule to enact her plan. And then there's Ensha invading you upon obtaining a piece of the Halig Tree medallion, and how nobody could have been prepared for that. In terms of NPC interactions, I think the Round Table Hold is actually one of the strongest hubs in the series. So many questlines either start or continue here at the Hold, and you'll always find new missions to go down on future playthroughs. The Twin Maiden Husks accepting your bell bearings and becoming an extremely useful and convenient vendor is great, as is having access to the boss weapon and armor vendor alongside the blacksmith and the spirit tuner. They knew that due to the length of Elden Ring, that consolidating all your useful tools into one small space would be of great help, and you know what? They were right. The only thing the Round Table Hold is missing is that personal connection that makes me go, wow, I care so much about this place. I thought it was pretty cool finding the Round Table Hold in Lanedale, but another hub on this list later on does that same trope a little bit better. Compared to every other hub on this list, Firelink Shrine from Dark Souls 1 is an extremely special case, for yes, it is technically your hub area and a place of respite for both you and the travelers of Lordran, but you don't come here to level up. You don't even come here to upgrade your weapons. No, Firelink Shrine is unique because of Dark Souls 1's interconnected level design. It's a 3D Metroidvania, with this location being your focal point. All the paths in Lordran lead back to Firelink in some way, and it's always a safe location to start any adventure from, be it heading into the Undead Burg to go to the parish, or to venture down into the Catacombs, New Londo, or Blighttown. Vendors and NPCs will return here periodically so you can continue their questlines, or purchase what you need from them at no extra cost. It reminds me of a tavern in D&D, where adventurers congregate to rest and discuss their journeys. That's the vibe of Firelink. It's your strongest bonfire at the start of the game, and serves as a main warping point once you unlock the power of the Lord Vessel. And that brings up the point that not having the ability to warp in the early game means getting back to familiar territory like Firelink is all the more important for both morale and navigation. So when Lautrec kills the Firekeeper and you arrive to find your bonfire snuffed out, it's a horrifying realization. Your best bonfire has been taken away. That sense of safety and comfort brought about from the beautiful flames is snatched. It becomes personal, restoring your home paramount. For many, Dark Souls was their first game in this genre, and having a place they could return to, away from the horrors and the difficulty outside the shrine, was more meaningful than anyone could have predicted. Motoi Sakuraba, my man, one of the best composers of our time, made the perfect soundtrack to make the player feel safe, while also reminding the player that you're still in a hostile land. The convenience of future hubs isn't present in Firelink, but in making you work for every upgrade, every shortcut, every journey, it creates a unique feeling that we haven't seen since. I really wish From Software would revisit the level design philosophy of Dark Souls 1 and just give us a new game in the same vein, so we can get another hub just like Firelink for me to gush over. Just missing out on the top spot, we have the Hunter's Dream from Bloodborne. When it comes to hubs that make the player feel comfortable, I actually think this is one of the best. After all, exploring Yharnam and the nightmares beyond can be mentally taxing, stressful, and having the hunter have their own safe place to return to where they can restock, level up, and upgrade weapons is vital. It's a place where no evil can reach, just you, the doll, Gehrman, and the horrifying moon presence that watches over you, constantly drumming into your mind that you need to go slay fierce, work the house down, boots mama, an invisible baby. If you're aware of the force at play creating the dream, it can feel a bit eerie, and that's actually reflected somewhat in the music, both calming and filled with a twinge of unease, a twinge of sadness. But the doll is a comforting force who's always ready to welcome the hunter home, and the little workshop is so quaint and cozy that you could just take a rest there if you really wanted to. I've definitely gone AFK in the Hunter's Dream while filming Bloodborne, and just vibed to the ambience while browsing Twitter or replying to messages, and that's one of the highest compliments a hub can be given. But I also love the hub's relation to other game mechanics. It's the only place you can access the Chalice dungeons, partaking in communion in these optional dungeons designed to test players on all their skills as you search for Queen Yharnam. Or how about the fact that the game's final boss fights take place here? As when your journey is complete, the Hunter's Workshop begins to burn. The dream is telling you it's time to go, you're no longer needed, you've fulfilled your role, and now please get the fuck out. The dream empty until another hunter is required for the Moon Presence's next goal. I can't help but imagine the comedy that I was dragged into the dream to kill a great one, but someone after me could get dragged into the dream and the Moon Presence is like, woo, do my grocery shopping, woo. The Hunter's Dream takes on a fun meaning when you learn that hunters like Eileen and Jura have both been a part of the dream themselves, and the headstones along the flower field show just how many hunters have been a part of this place before. You're just the special one who figured out how to take that power for yourself. But best of all, I love that finding the Hunter's Dream in the waking world has a significant lore impact on the plot of Bloodborne, revealing that it's based upon the abandoned church workshop, that Gehrman was selected as the host of the dream and taken from all he cared dear for. The inanimate doll found in the corner and the third umbilical cord on the table, it spells out a story of tragedy and a sneaky reveal of the true nature at work in the Hunter's Dream. And if it wasn't for some serious bias on my part, it would be my favourite hub in Soulsborne, but there was never any doubt. At number 1, my favourite hub in all of Soulsborne is Majula from Dark Souls 2. I don't give Dark Souls 2 enough credit on my channel, but if there's one thing it absolutely nails without question, it's the hub. And I'm not just saying that because Majula was my first Soulsborne hub I ever experienced, but also I am saying that because Majula was my first Soulsborne hub I ever experienced. It's my video, I can do what I want. The start of the game constantly hits you with, you are going to die. Your life is tragic. Memories are going to be forgotten, you're going to go hollow, hee hee, hoo hoo. So when you emerge from the darkness of things betwixt, and you're greeted by the shining, golden warmth of a perpetual late afternoon sun outside, it's one of the best moments of contrast in the series. The town by the sea is ramshackled, run down, and yet those who remain are making do of what they have. Be it the blacksmith who is locked out of his forge, who hates your guts, or the crestfallen knight who sits by the monument that tallies your deaths. Every NPC who returns takes up shop in a different part of town, and it very quickly starts to become a home, an actual settlement. And then there's Señorita Bear Seek Lest herself, the Emerald Herald. Of the level up maidens in these games, she's actually tied with Bloodborne's doll as my personal favourite. Yes, her backstory was kinda screwed with in development, but she has such a calming presence about her, and I love the way she looks. It's giving this Lord of the Rings meets Celtic vibe, and with her armor set, she looks like she could knock somebody out if she needed to. She's not this timid maiden, but an active participant in your story, pushing you forwards and creepily appearing when you reach specific locations with no explanation. It's great. But Majula's crowning achievement is just its atmosphere. Ignoring the NPCs, ignoring the gameplay, ignoring the pigs in the corner, and Majula still stands as a place I'd love to just sit at and watch the waves while Motoi Sakuraba's best hub theme plays in the background. The music brings such a wave of nostalgia every time I hear it that it honestly makes me tear up. I'm reminded of times in my youth when Dark Souls 2 first released and I'd be talking about it with my best friend Nathan while studying for exams. How I'd mouse and keyboarded my way to the end of the game despite FromSoft's early PC ports being a bit on the rough side, always coming back to Majula to rest up and enjoy the sunlight. I like to think this is Solaire's sun that he was searching for in Dark Souls 1, or at least, this is the sun I've been searching for. No hub will ever hit me in the same way as Dark Souls 2's Majula, and I am fully at peace with that. It is my favourite Soulsborne hub, and that is never going to change. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know which hub is your favorite in the comments down below. And once again, be sure to parry that subscribe button to stay up to date on all my future content. The next 2 Soulsborne videos this month are going to be Halloween based. Very exciting. We have the scariest enemies next week, and the week after we have the top 10 scariest moments in all of Soulsborne, so stay tuned. My social links are on screen now, feel free to follow where you feel comfortable. I'd recommend my Twitter or my Blue Sky if you have it. And a massive shout out to my patrons over on Patreon for your wonderful support, even if Patreon has changed its logo to something just so bad and minimalist and horrific. I am not updating my social link picture there, it's staying as the old patron logo. I'll see you guys next time, have a good one, adios.